Okay, so I like to start with this one general question, and that's, also, you can speak as freely and as much as you like.
Okay, that was my
So
next question. I was going to ask that question.
yeah, if you want to cuss, if you want to say something, that might not be politically correct, you are open to be as expressive and speak as freely as you like.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is, when do you feel you're most powerful?
Ooh. When do I feel my most powerful? I think when I am servicing my students and not just in an act of like, so I work with high school students and ninth through 12th grade.
Mhm,
Each grade is working on something a little bit different in terms of their journey to, young adulthood.
mhm,
But I feel the most powerful when I'm working with my seniors, like helping them to transition from high school to whether they're going to go to college and career pathway or college or career pathway or like take up a training program.
mhm,
Um, I feel the most powerful in educating them and sharing the mistakes and errors that I made fresh out of school to
mhm.
kind of help them not make those same mistakes in terms of like getting in debt, not really having clear direction on what your future plans are. So I just feel like I guess my mistakes help me free someone else from making the same, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's also vital. I know when I graduated high school, I, I mean, of course, you have all your influence, your parents or whomever telling you what you should do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I went into college and I kind of just went in goofing around because I didn't know if it was really what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I wish I kind of had somebody giving me a direct insight, a real time view of what it looks like to leave high school and what the world could be.
Yes, yes, same. I wish I had the same thing.
So let's flip that question and talk about when you feel you're least powerful.
Ooh, okay. So when I first saw this opportunity, I initially shied away from it because I didn't know if I was ready to be this transparent and honest with myself. Because yes, even though you're being interviewed and you're talking to someone else,
Mhm.
you have to be real with yourself.
Right.
So I think where I feel the least powerful are three different areas. I would say love, labor, and finance. Those were the things that I wrote down. Um, and do you want me to like elaborate on each
Yeah, I would
one
love
or?
that.
Okay, so I'll start with the one that's probably the easiest for me to talk about. So labor is the first one, and that's work.
Hmm.
This past 2 years is the first time that I've worked in a predominantly white environment
Hmm.
since I graduated with my degree in 2009.
Hmm.
Um, I have somewhat of like resentment about it because I feel like I'm used as like a prop sometimes to get the black and brown kids that we serve to buy in to things that they want to happen. But
Mm,
sometimes I feel like I'm not taken serious enough to be a leader.
mm,
Um, I often hear like I'll present an idea or a track of a way that we can take a different idea, a different situation, an idea, or how to service the family. And I feel like I'm constantly coming back to like a lot of foundation things that I was taught because I'm an HBCU grad. Like, so I went to Coppin State University, and
I went to
you
Coppin State
know,
too.
yeah, oh yes.
Hmm.
So um, I know that our school sometimes gets a bad rap, but I believe that I was best prepared to service the community that I live in and I work in. Because I think it's important to understand the whole scope of the human beings that you're servicing. So I started off in social work and I worked in CPS. I worked with kids in foster care, worked with adult clients and patients for a little bit. And I've realized that that was not my niche, and then went to the education world. And it just seems very dark over here sometimes that I feel like people are playing with our kids.
Yeah.
And so they'll use them for a short film, a YouTube plug, or a commercial, or for fundraising. But do you really, when you're saying that you want to create community, do you really know who is present in our community and who is here? So I often feel like I'm used as like kind of like an A&R rep sometimes to go scope the talent, because it's an athletic program that I work for. But I'm often pressing like, do you know the other things that these kids experience outside of them playing the sport or
Right.
showing up here every day? Do you
Yeah.
know the things that they have to contend with to just get here and be here? Um, and so that's something where sometimes I feel powerless. I have stuck it out thus far, and I'm seeing some monumental changes. The student body took a survey last year, and the satisfaction of the program increased to 92%.
Oh wow.
And I think that that has a lot to do with having Black people in the space that
Mm.
represent them. And I think that that makes them enjoy showing up.
Yeah.
um, so I try to take myself out of those personal things, but it does make me feel powerless sometimes when I feel like I'm good enough to be in the space, but sometimes my ideas are not taken seriously, or someone will present something that I've said in a meeting or in, a conference that we have, and present it as it's their own idea. Watching the series The Other Black Girl was hella triggering for me. And I was like, it's like where everybody's trying to make you feel like you're crazy,
All right.
but you're really not crazy. Like it's really happening. So there's that for the labor piece. For finance, because I do community-based work, I'll never forget when I interned at a state prison in New Jersey during the holiday break when I was a freshman. And I initially wanted to be a lawyer. Well, first I wanted to be a veterinarian, because I love animals. I realized I wasn't emotionally like there to do that because I can't cry over every animal that
Yeah.
passes away. So I was like, all right, that's not for you. Then I thought I wanted to, go to law school and be a lawyer. And so when I started doing my research on the criminal justice system and going to do various internships, I realized that that wasn't for me either. And then I ended up going on a missionary trip to Haiti. And it wasn't something that I chose to do. It was something my parents signed me up for.
Oh,
And I stayed the summer. And I came with a lot of clothes, but essentially at the end, I left with nothing.
oh,
Because I realized that people live differently than us, but they're happier than we are. And these things are just stuff. And
yeah.
I have the privilege to always get this back.
Right.
So I came back a different kid. And when I got back, I was like, I want to like create change. I want to help people. I felt really powerful in that. And I was like, I want to do that. And I remember when I still went to that internship, this white man shook my hand and he asked me, what did I want to do? And I said, I want to go into the field of social work to advocate for like policy and change. And he was like, oh, prepare to be poor and broke for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Um, that really like has still stuck with me in therapy. Like it's kind of come up again, like where I just feel like when it comes to finance, I God has not like really forsaken me in any way, shape, or form. The reality is that I do have to accept that I do have the things that I need. Sometimes I want more though. And I feel cringy saying that sometimes, but I want more. Um, I don't want to have to worry about, oh, my rent goes up, it's all good. You know what I mean? Or, oh, that I have to hold this car close to me because I don't want to go through another car payment. I just wish that money wasn't an object to like help me move a little bit more freely. And really like that I could have the money to do more for the community, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I wish that I could do more than what I do now.
Okay.
Um, and then in love, um, I think I do pretty well in every area of my life except for that.
Mm,
Um, and I went through like a really traumatic breakup recently,
mm,
where I thought that like I made a rookie mistake of believing that I could love somebody out of the pain that they have experienced in their life. And I thought that if I showed up as this person, that I was supportive, that I was dependable, that I did all of these things, I realized that I really wore myself down. Like I felt like I started looking different. I gained a lot of weight
mm.
trying to preserve space for this person. And they ended up like just discarding me in the end. Like it was whatever, and it was very an awakening experience that, people have to do the work for themselves. It's kind of like I knew that, but I wasn't living in that, if that made sense. So I often find that I date men that want to be like super combative with me all the time, or people that try to like attempt to minimize me. I know that my personality is big. Like I'm aware of that. I know that like I can take up a lot of space and all of that, but I'm champion in the areas of my life where I do that. Like it's good that you speak up. It's great that you add something to the conversation that you do well. But I find when I connect with romantic partners, they want me to like make myself small. And that doesn't feel good at all.
In those,
So it makes me feel powerless.
mm, when you are faced with those kind of adversities, like specifically the feeling minimized in a romantic situation, how do you combat that if you have ever like put any process into place, or like what is the thought process when you start to realize that that's happening?
Um, it goes in waves for me. I know immediately I become very defensive, because I feel like I'm constantly defending myself, like my person. I'm told like you don't always need to have something to say. But what I'm saying is like valid. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand. It's always like you don't understand men. You don't know what we go through. You don't, and it feels so divisive. So I kind of like try not to. I think where I am right now, I mean, to be completely transparent, I feel like I disassociate like a lot, like where I just like remove myself, or enjoy the moment or the date for what it is, but don't really like try to go too deep into it. Because I feel like the last time that I went really deep into something with somebody, I was discarded in the end. Like none of this stuff ever mattered prior to that. Um, so I think like I remove myself or I try not to get too close to people,
Mhm.
because I feel like the things that men are attracted to me, like the things that attract them to me, they often on the exit are the things that they list as a complaint, which is very weird to me all the time.
Yeah, and do you think that that affects your relationship to self?
I don't think so. Sometimes I feel lonely, but I'm not alone, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the what you were saying about like what they initially are attracted to turning out to be something that they complain about in the end.
well, in the beginning, I think I questioned it a lot. Like in my 20s, yes. At this part of my life, it'll be like a little like, like, ooh, like, okay, again. Because when you're 37 and you have constant failed relationships, you're kind of like, all right, what's wrong with me? Right. But then I have to like constantly like recalibrate myself, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
to let myself know that the person that I'm supposed to share space and time with will accept all of those things about me. And because
totally.
I have positive reflections of like what healthy romance and relationship looks like, whether my friends are queer, lesbian, gay, straight, whatever. I have a lot of different things that I can look at that
Mhm.
remind me that people with big personalities are loved. People with, people who speak up, and say the things that other people are afraid to say are loved, because I'm around these kind of people and they have partners who show up for them, in a monumental way. So
Yeah,
it's like initially I feel like down, but then I feel like I'm in a constant battle with myself. Like, do I mute myself? Do I tone myself down? Or like, I want to be powerful and just being myself. Like, I love myself. I want to be okay with being myself and not because somebody else feels threatened by that.
I hear that 100%. So, in these three areas that you mentioned, love, labor, and finance, if you could remove that arrested feeling that you have in those spaces, what would a dream situation look like free of those affectations?
Mm. So I would say in finance, just the ability to make ends meet without thinking about it. Like I want to be able to get up, go on vacation, not really have to really sit and strategically plan certain things, to make that happen. And that if I wanted to have a community endeavor, And if I couldn't get the financial backing from the powers that be, that I could fund it myself and do it. Um, at work, that I would be placed in a leadership position. And I actually just shared this on my self-evaluation at work today, that I think the way that I will value my place of employment more is by being put in positions where I can showcase my leadership,
Mm-hmm.
not just where someone can take my idea and present it as their own, but that I'm actually a person who can showcase, like, this is what I'm thinking. These are, like, the tangible things that we can acquire here by getting certain things done, and like show what the outcomes are after it's finished. Um, but I would love to be in more of a leadership role, to have some more input and decision making and what happens for our students and our families.
Mm.
um and in love, that I have a partner that just that we equally show up for each other, that there isn't this divisive thing against, like, man versus woman, that we can just coexist, and like that, I'm my partner's biggest fan and they're my biggest fan, and while I'm dating a woman that is, strong and that shows up for a lot of people in other different ways, that doesn't mute anything that I have going on, like that they're comfortable with themselves in turn to be comfortable with me.
Right, like the way that sounds. So, as you described, when you do feel powerful, when you are going or preparing to go into the world, is there a certain way that you put yourself together to show up and, in that sense, to look or feel powerful?
Yes, I don't subscribe to dress codes. I think that they got me in a lot of trouble in my career. I think that social workers dress terribly. They're probably like the worst dressed individuals if you ever look at them. Like, and I don't mean that in a shallow way, but I'm
Yeah,
a firm believer that, like, when you look good, you feel good.
right.
And I also feel like I am I am a kid at heart. So it's like how I feel. I like to change my earrings. I like to change my jewelry. I like to change my nails. Like, a lot of these things are like, I think being a Black woman is so, like, lit,
Mm.
that you have all these different, like, we're like chameleons. Like, we can change to whatever the vibe is for the day, however we're feeling. And I feel like a lot of how we're feeling internally speaks through the garments that we select, whether it's on a high end of labels or something more so on your regular basic, like, end of whatever it is. So for me, I like to dress however I feel. I have a big old afro and I'm gonna wear it all the time.
Okay.
um, there was a point where, when I was going natural, where I would like straighten my hair for interviews,
Mhm.
and then would like kind of showcase who I really was once I got the job. But now, I like, since then, and that was in my 20s, but like now I show up as myself. And one of the things that I said at this job here to the director was that if I can't authentically be myself in this space, then this is not the job for me.
Right.
And she was with it. And so, yeah, I like to get ready to music in the morning. I'm super loud in the morning. The music is turned up. um, I like to take my vitamins in the morning, stretch. I might talk to like family and friends because all of my family is in New York and New Jersey. So I'll chop it up with friends and family. Like, I'm doing a lot in the morning before I get myself together. But I feel like that's a way of, like, God kind of laying hands on me by connecting with these people that I love to
Mm.
kind of jumpstart my day, if that makes sense.
I love that.
Um, yeah. So, and I didn't realize how much I value that in the morning. I used to laugh at my grandma because she would be on the phone every morning, all the time. I'd be like, damn, who's she talking to? Like, and I think I embody her spirit a lot. And I think I'm essentially, I'm her, like, where I'm on the phone in the morning, I'm loud, I'm moving around the house, I'm busy, I'm up and I'm busy. And I love that whatever I'm wearing is a reflection of how I'm feeling for the day. So it could be really dressed up. Today I wore like a matching sweatsuit with like Crocs and, you know, some cool socks, but that's how I was feeling, like super comfortable and super fun. But I feel like that stuff keeps you young and keeps you vibrant. Like, I looked at the women that were at my internships and I was like, y'all look horrible. Like y'all just look like y'all not happy. Like not unattractive, but y'all just look like y'all are miserable and you're just making it. And I always said as a young professional that as I evolve in this profession, that I'm gonna bring a touch of me to the space. Like I'm never going to let myself go. Like it's important for me to keep myself together. Like that's for me. Because I can't be out here helping other people and I look crazy.
Right. You mentioned your afro. Is
Mhm.
there like another, like an actual garment or item that you feel like when you put this particular thing on, that you are going to take the day? You know what I mean?
Ooh. Mm, I have a few things. I think one of my favorite things, I love my mom jeans, like they're like lived in, broken in old jeans. I love those. I love off the shoulder like bodysuits or like garments.
Hmm.
I don't know, I have a thing for like clavicles. I know that's so weird, but I think I think there's something romantic about a woman's neck and stature, especially when it's like presented in art, like if it's painted or even like watching a fashion show and watching garments come down the runway. Like I'm always looking at the person's body structure and things like that, like how the neckline is just always beautiful, always gracious, and it doesn't matter whether it's urban wear or like something that's more formal. It doesn't matter to me. I'm always looking at like the neckline of women. I just think is like a beautiful, like I don't know, it's beautiful to me. But I like off the shoulder things, and I like hoodies. I love hoodies. I live in a hoodie when it's cold out.
Okay. If there was an article of clothing or a certain type of look that you could banish forever, what would it be?
Ooh. Ooh, the old me would have said Crocs, and now I live in them. Now I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. You know what I'm gonna say? Ballet flats. They're horrible for your feet. And I
Yeah.
know some people still wear them. I hate them. They're not flattering. I'm guilty. I had a pair. And it was just to abide by that stupid dress code, but I hate them. Yeah, I hate them. And I hate wedge sneakers. I wanna get rid of those too. I don't like them.
Is there something that you've worn in the past that made you feel less like yourself? Like, for example, someone else in another interview said that their grandmother used to make them wear a slip when they were going.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, they just said that they hated to wear a slip. It made them feel old. You know what I mean? So, is there anything
Mm,
like that kind of restricted you in your earlier phases of figuring out the look?
One of the things that my aunts told me was that as you evolve into your womanhood, you'll find your style. It's always going to be ever changing. It's always going to be different. Um, I think the pandemic helped me to really go back to my roots where like I have never been a girly girl, if that makes sense. I'm originally born and raised in New Jersey. I was a sneakers, jeans, my hair was always done, but I love my sneakers. I was never a high heel girl.
Hmm.
So I think that when I came to Baltimore, one of the things that I love about the women here is that they put that shit on. And I love that. It don't matter where you're going. Like fashion is a thing here and it's a big deal. So when I was at a HBCU, you already know that the HBCU is like the first runway of like you're looking at what people have on. And I think like I became a girl that became this girly girl because my parents were like, why are you not dressing a certain kind of way? Why are you not doing things a certain kind of way?
Hmm.
The crazy thing is now I've reverted back to my old self, like what I originally, I guess, stepped up in the world as. And everybody's like, I like that. That's cute. That's this. I feel like I get more compliments versus like, I feel like I look uncomfortable. Like when I'm in like super high heel shoes, I'm 5'10". Like I don't need to be that tall. Of course, like if it's a formal thing or something where I have to dress up, I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna get myself together. But on a day-to-day wear, I hate being in heels. Like I'm not comfortable in that, like at all. I'm not comfortable in short skirts. I'm not comfortable in that. It doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you had to either give yourself a piece of advice, like something to say to your former self, or an advice to someone else who's kind of struggling with the feeling of feeling arrested, what would you say to them?
I would tell my younger self, do all the things. Do
Mm,
all the things regardless of how you feel. Um, I think sometimes if it wasn't for my mom pushing me into spaces and places and forcing me to go for an opportunity or do something, I don't think I would have done it, to be honest. I don't know where that lack of motivation was, or if that was something that was kind of, I shied away from certain things.
mm-hmm.
But I would tell my younger self to like do all the things you want to do. Being a cheerleading coach, when I had like bigger girls on the cheerleading team, I fangirled that. Like I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I shied away from that being a bigger girl, growing up, where I was like, I don't think that I could be that. I don't think that that's the place for me. I don't think that that's okay. So
Yeah,
I would say in retrospect, like, yeah, do all the things. Even if you're afraid, just do it. Because the only way you know that it doesn't work is if you've actually saw it all the way through and find out at the end that it doesn't work.
exactly. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful sentiment.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking this time to talk to me this evening.
Of course.
This has been very enlightening, and I had to say one of my favorite interviews so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity and I'm really looking forward to like seeing all of this come together. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm so excited to now that we've done this part to kind of move into the actual putting things together and making it real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I will definitely keep you posted on everything.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. You have a good night.
All right, you too.